Far away, inside the mountains of Dover, Norway, Tobias tells his daughter Nora a fairy tale that says, thousands of years ago, a group of trolls gathered here for a wedding, but they got so drunk they lost track of time and became mountains. Nora, who thinks she's now too old for fairy tales, laughs at the story as they're obviously in front of a plain mountain, but Tobias tells her she has to believe in something to be able to see it. 20 years later, Nora is now a paleontologist on an expedition with her team. After hours of no discoveries, they get frustrated and wanting to give up when Nora finds a fossil beneath the soil. Meanwhile, back at Dover Mountains, a construction company is working on building a new railway by digging through the mountains. The project has caused attention as activists protest against the destruction of nature, but they were ignored. The bombs are activated as it blows up the tunnel. Suddenly, they hear a loud mysterious noise inside the cave as it causes the rocks to collapse and kills some workers inside. The incident is detected by the authorities, who sends an aircraft to investigate. Sigrid, in charge of the camera on the aircraft, put together footage of the scene as the general involves the Prime Minister Berit. She is informed about the destruction caused by an unknown force. Andreas, Berit's advisor, shows her an image telling it looks like a giant footprint. Berit finds it ridiculous and unrealistic and orders Andreas to find scientific experts to explain the causes of the problem. Afterwards, a helicopter arrives to pick up Nora as she celebrates with her team. One of the soldiers asks her to come with them for a matter of national security. Now at the headquarters, Nora gets welcomed by Andreas as he takes her to the meeting where the Prime Minister, Berit, some military personnel and some scientists are discussing the potential cause of the incident in the mountains. Nora joins the discussion as she introduces herself as a paleontologist, but no one takes her seriously because they think the incident doesn't have anything to do with supernatural causes. The general assumes it to be a military attack from other countries, and the scientist brings up various theories. Pictures displays on the screen from the incident, which appears to look like a giant footprint on the landscape. Nora points out the obvious as they dismiss her for thinking this was caused by a monster. Sigrid interrupts the conversation to show them a live footage she discovered from hacking one of the activists' phone. As they watched and found nothing, Nora saw something behind the explosion. As she tells Sigrid to rewind the recording slowly, they hear a roaring sound similar to that of a wild animal and a human-like figure behind the explosion. Meanwhile, in Lesja, a dog keeps barking at the open fields while the owners wonder why it won't stop barking. Suddenly, the house starts shaking and the old couple goes to hide in their basement before the building starts to crumble and the lights went out. Moments later, after it stops, they come out to find their house destroyed. Back at the headquarters, while the general disagrees with the idea of a footprint left by a monster, Nora prompts that they need to take actions whatever the causes may be. Berit is impressed by her response and makes her the scientific advisor. Soon later, Nora and Andreas are sent to check out the new incident at Lesja. They both get into a conversation in the helicopter as Nora tells Andreas that her love for nature and fairy tales developed into searching for real monsters, hence becoming a paleontologist. Her mom died when she was 10 and her dad was a professor in mythology who became obsessed with fictional creatures and later became unable to distinguish between reality and fiction. Because of this, Nora separated from Tobias and hasn't seen him in years. They get to the location as they are being welcomed by Captain Christopher, who is in charge of the operation. He shows them the tracks that came from the mountains and no other clues were found. Nora then asks the old couples who witness a giant moving figure and a loud howling noise that had a sad tone. Nora went outside to examine the footprint as she perceived a strong smell which she calls hypernature. She asks to be taken to the place where the track ends and the scanner detected no form of life, only mountains. Nora wonders if the creature could camouflage as it is too big to hide. After coming up with some theories that she wasn't sure of, she takes Christopher and Andreas to meet Tobias, her father, who comes out with a gun pointing at them because they were strangers. Nora makes him remember that she is his daughter who he hasn't seen in years as he lets them in. Tobias's house is filled with research of creatures which shows his obsession of finding a mythical creature known as trolls. Nora shows him footages of the incident as she thinks his research might give them some clues. After watching the footages, Tobias confirms that his theories are real all this time, but Nora doesn't seem convinced. She thinks the scientists would have spotted trolls' DNA long ago. Tobias tells her that the authorities doesn't want people to know about the existence of trolls and fairy tales were written to make people think trolls are evil. Nora is surprised to hear all these as Tobias joins the team in excitement. They arrive at the area where the track stops. Tobias notices the change in the landscape as it doesn't match the one in the maps. Suddenly, the cloud darkens as the mountain behind them opens an eye. It turns out that Tobias has been right the whole time. The creature is actually a troll, and it has the ability to camouflage as a mountain, which explains the change in landscape. They quickly get to the helicopter as the enormous troll gets up and roars at them. They manage to send the transmission to the headquarters as they stare in disbelief, seeing what is in front of them. Christopher and the team arrived at a military camp to inform them of what they've witnessed. Nora continued to use the word unknown creature not to sound crazy as Tobias interrupts her, telling them it was a troll that has been causing the attack on them because they destroy nature. The leaders kick him out and considered him to be crazy. Nora asked for more time for findings, but she was ignored as they will be proceeding with military force. She leaves to meet her father as she is angry with him for ruining it all. He tells her that this troll is scared and feels alone, and weapons will make it angrier. Nora believes him this time and decides to convince Christopher to take them along to the operation. They arrived at Heidel at night to ambush the creature. Moments later, the troll shows up moving towards their path and stops moving as he gets close enough. Tobias points out that it already knows they are there. The soldiers begin to shoot at the troll, ignoring Tobias's warning that it will make it angry, but the bullets and explosives do nothing as the troll attacks back. The team hides behind a tree. The troll smelled a wounded soldier and picks him up to eat. As the others run for their lives, Tobias tries to approach the troll in a friendly way. To everyone's surprise, the troll stops moving to answer Tobias' gentle call and replies back with a peaceful groan. But not everyone was aware as one of the trucks opens fire at the troll. It got angry to attack back, accidentally hitting Tobias and walked away. Nora rushes to her dying father. He mumbles the words "the palace, the home," asking his daughter to believe before he dies. Back at the headquarters, Nora, looking into her father's research, discovers clues that says trolls don't like sunlight, but they've seen this one appear in one. And the other clue, all the trolls were destroyed by the Christianization of Norway, which gives Nora an idea as she puts together that the trolls didn't like the bell sounds from churches. They contact Barrett to explain to her their findings as they'll need bells for their next attack. The leaders think the idea is ridiculous when Christopher cuts to tell them they need alternatives since their previous plans didn't work. Barrett agrees to carry out the plan. Suddenly, at a nearby park, the place began shaking and the clouds darkens as the troll appears and the crowd runs for safety. The troll gets angry as it hears the bell sounds that were attached to the helicopter with Christopher and the team. As the sound becomes louder, it makes the troll uncomfortable and it tries to defend itself, causing chaos. A girl is trapped as one of the helicopters crashes and starts to fall towards her, but the troll catches the helicopter, saving the little girl, and then walks away. Now at the headquarters, the leader agrees to use a dangerous missile on the troll since Nora's plan was not effective. The minister gives an emergency evacuation speech as she asks the people to cooperate with the soldiers taking over to prepare for the next operation. Nora and Andreas are stuck in traffic as Nora uses the opportunity to look into Tobias' research. The pages emphasize the word sighting, which Andreas thinks it could be Rickard's sighting, the Lord Chamberlain at the royal palace. Nora remembers her father's last words of king, palace, home as they rush to the royal palace. Sighting, who has been expecting Tobias or someone sent by him, welcomes them in as he takes them into a tunnel and he explains to them that the Christianization of Norway killed the trolls and they spared one baby and lured the king of the trolls into the mountains where the construction was taking place. They trapped the baby inside this cave and left it to die, which means that the troll they have been encountering is the king and it is coming home to this palace for its baby. While Nora looks around the bones, she discovers that the UV light is damaging them, which means that the stories were correct about the sunlight killing the trolls, but the one they have encountered hasn't been hit with sunlight because it becomes cloudy every time it appears. Nora comes up with a plan and calls Christopher, who thinks the leader's idea of launching a missile is too dangerous and agrees to help her. Nora's plan was to lure the troll to a trap of UV light. Later, Sigrid informs them that the leaders are about to launch the missile. Andreas tells her that it was too risky as it could kill the civilians and tells her they have a better plan. He convinces her to delay the launch. She hacks into the computer system and finally paused the activation. Meanwhile, Andreas and Nora are in a truck carrying one of the troll's family skull to distract the troll and lure it into the trap. As it crosses their path, they reveal the skull, which gets his attention and it starts to follow them. Christopher and the soldiers are getting ready for the ambush. After some rough driving around the city, Nora and Andreas lose the skull and the troll picks it up as he recognizes it to let out a painful grieving groan for its family. The troll sees its reflection on a glass building and tries to touch it. When the glass shatters, making an uncomfortable noise, it accidentally drops the skull, which gets destroyed. It becomes angry and attacks Nora and Andreas, who manage to make it to the area of the trap just in time and jumped out of the truck, leading the troll right in the center of the trap. The soldiers activate the UV lights, which starts to burn the creature. However, Nora can't stand seeing it die like this, as she turns off the lights to save it. The soldiers get ready to shoot, but Christopher stops them as she approaches the troll in a friendly way, the way her father did it, begging it to go back to the mountains. The troll stares at her, considering her words, before the sun begins to rise and burns the creature into a rock. And everyone celebrates. Moments later, Barrett arrives to thank Nora for her work. Andreas and Nora walk together as he wonders if there may be more hidden creatures in Dover. Back at the mountains, we see something starting to move in the pile of rocks. The end. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more videos.